Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Libra rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Libra ascendants ruled by Venus itself, Malavya Yoga is extremely powerful because Venus governs both their identity and life expression. Libra natives naturally seek harmony, beauty, justice, and refined relationships. Malavya Yoga elevates these qualities into fame, wealth, stable partnerships, and mastery of diplomacy. This yoga helps Libra natives rise in fields where grace, public interaction, and refined leadership are essential. The ultimate manifestation depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how other planets either stabilize or test Venus's balance between pleasure and responsibility. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Libra Lagna, Venus rules both the first house, self-personality, physical health, and 8th house, Taurus, joint assets, transformation, deep psychological insight. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus occupies Libra, first house, own sign, or Pisces, 6th house, exalted. Both placements give Venus full Kendra strength, making Libra one of the strongest ascendants for Malavya Yoga to flourish, bringing personal charm, marital harmony, prosperity, and graceful leadership. Venus, 1st and 8th Lord in Libra, first house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the most natural and complete expression of Malavya Yoga for Libra rising. Venus in its own sign in Lagna gives remarkable physical beauty, charm, diplomatic talent, and effortless social grace. The native becomes highly successful in careers related to law, arts, fashion, politics, or public relations. They attract admiration easily and often become public icons due to their polished demeanor, fairness, and refined aesthetics. Venus, 1st and 8th Lord in Pisces, 6th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 6th house grants diplomatic skill in resolving conflicts, excellent negotiation ability, and capacity to manage competition with charm rather than aggression. This version of Malavya Yoga favors careers in law, healthcare, counseling, dispute resolution, or public administration. The native rises by turning adversaries into allies while preserving their image of fairness and integrity. Moon, 10th in Taurus, 8th house, exalted and enhancing Venus's stability in partnerships and shared wealth. Exalted Moon brings emotional control, wealth through joint ventures, and comfort in managing crisis situations. The native may handle financial institutions, legacy wealth, or corporate negotiations with exceptional ease and psychological insight. Jupiter, 3rd and 6th Lord in Pisces, 6th house, own sign, supporting Venus's diplomatic conflict resolution. Jupiter's strength allows the native to manage litigation, healthcare, or public service with both moral clarity and graceful execution. The person becomes a mediator, judge, or administrator who resolves complex legal and ethical situations while maintaining fairness. Mercury, 9th and 12th Lord, in Virgo, 12th house, exalted, refining Venus's global and spiritual diplomacy. Exalted Mercury enhances foreign diplomacy, legal acumen, and global networking. The native becomes influential in international organizations, global charities, or high-level policymaking where both intellect and diplomacy are essential. Mars, 2nd and 7th Lord, in Aries, 7th house, own sign, energizing Venus's partnerships and business alliances. Mars brings ambition and strength to partnerships. The native may form powerful business alliances, legal partnerships, or dynamic marriages that combine wealth building with energetic leadership. Mars ensures the native takes bold but calculated moves in their public roles. Saturn, 4th and 5th Lord, in Capricorn, 4th house, own sign, anchoring Venus's success into long-term leadership. Saturn provides disciplined career growth, real estate success, and institutional stability. The native rises slowly but steadily to top positions, often managing corporations, governments, or legal systems with grace, diplomacy, and strategic control. Rahu in Pisces, 6th house, conjunct exalted Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's desire for power through service, competition, and legal authority. If supported by Jupiter, this produces internationally respected negotiators, arbitrators, or legal minds. If not well managed, Rahu may lead to entanglements in legal or relationship complications requiring ethical discipline. Ketu in Virgo, 12th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu fosters detachment from excessive luxury while enhancing spiritual insight and karmic service. Disposed by Mercury, It allows the native to maintain a balance between wealth, public power, and inner spiritual evolution. The native may quietly influence global reforms while remaining personally humble despite Malavya Yoga's outward success. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Scorpio rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Scorpio ascendants, ruled by Mars, representing intensity, control, and transformation, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces grace, material prosperity, partnership stability, and aesthetic refinement into their deeply passionate and secretive nature. Scorpio natives are naturally private, strategic, and often drawn to power behind the scenes. Malavya Yoga softens these intense qualities with charm, diplomacy, and the ability to attract wealth, status, and influential relationships. The full strength of this yoga depends on Venus's dignity, own or exalted in Kendra, and how Mars's Lagna lord supports Venus's elegance without letting desire turn into obsession. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Scorpio Lagna, Venus rules the 7th house. Taurus, partnerships, public life, business alliances. And 12th house, Libra, foreign lands, expenses, luxury, spiritual isolation. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus occupies Taurus, 7th house, own sign, or Pisces, 5th house, exalted. Both positions give Venus full Kendra or Trikona strength, allowing Malavya Yoga to strongly influence wealth, relationships, fame, and creativity for Scorpio natives. Venus, 7th and 12th lord in Taurus, 7th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is a classical Malavya Yoga configuration for Scorpio rising. Venus in its own sign in 7th house grants harmonious long-term relationships, successful business partnerships, and public admiration. The native becomes a master negotiator, diplomat, or business leader who balances personal magnetism with strategic alliances. This placement also promotes high-profile marriages, influential partnerships, and wealth through joint ventures or legal careers. Venus 7th and 12th lord in Pisces, 5th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 5th house brings immense creative intelligence, romantic success, and speculative financial prosperity. The native excels in fields such as finance, creative arts, entertainment, education, or counseling. This Malavya Yoga makes the Scorpio native not just a strategist, but also a refined performer, artist, or influential teacher who enjoys both emotional fulfillment and material comfort. Mars, Lagna Lord, in Scorpio, 1st house, own sign, strengthening Venus's charm with confidence and control. Mars provides boldness, control, and resilience, while Venus supplies charm and diplomacy. This blend allows the native to become a powerful leader who combines strategic mastery with social grace, ideal for corporate leadership, politics, or high-stakes negotiations. Moon, 9th lord, in Taurus, 7th house, exalted, amplifying Venus's partnership and public life stability. Exalted moon enhances fortune, public approval, and emotional strength in partnerships. The native enjoys happy and prosperous relationships, receives support from influential people, and often gains fame through marriage or public alliances. Jupiter, 2nd and 5th lord, in Pisces, 5th house, own sign, enhancing Venus's dharmic wealth and creativity. Jupiter in own sign alongside exalted Venus creates an extraordinarily auspicious combination for wealth, fame, children, education, and spiritual leadership. The native enjoys abundant fortune and may excel in teaching, wealth management, or artistic performance with a moral and ethical foundation. Mercury, 8th and 11th lord, in Virgo, 11th house, exalted, refining Venus's financial strategy. Exalted Mercury sharpens wealth-building strategies, alliances, and gains from business and high-level networking. This enhances Venus's ability to turn partnerships into long-term financial success, often resulting in corporate leaders, consultants, or legal experts with a sharp business mind and graceful negotiation skill. Saturn, 3rd and 4th lord, in Capricorn, 3rd house, own sign, grounding Venus's enterprise and public communication. Saturn stabilizes communication, entrepreneurship, and relationship management. With Venus, this combination creates individuals who build lasting professional empires, whether in media, publishing, consulting, or political organizations, combining steady effort with elegance. Rahu in Pisces, 5th house, conjunct exalted Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's creativity, romantic allure, and speculative success. When ethically guided, the native becomes an artist, public figure, or thought leader with widespread influence. Without ethical discipline, however, this can lead to emotional indulgence or relationship complications. Ketu in Virgo, 11th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu fosters detachment from obsessive materialism while supporting refined financial strategy. The native enjoys great wealth and status while remaining inwardly humble and intellectually balanced. This allows Malavya Yoga to operate not only for personal gain, but for philanthropic, educational, or artistic service to society. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Sagittarius rising. Core principles, strength versus influence. For Sagittarius ascendants, ruled by Jupiter, symbolizing Dharma, wisdom, and expansion, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces refinement, artistic creativity, luxurious living, and excellent relationship management into their natural philosophical and ethical orientation. Sagittarius natives are inherently optimistic, adventurous, and guided by high principles. Malavya Yoga helps anchor their broad-mindedness into material grace, wealth, partnerships, and a balanced public image. The yoga's power depends on Venus's strength, own, or exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether Jupiter's wisdom works in harmony with Venus's love of pleasure and refinement. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Sagittarius Lagna, Venus rules the 6th house, Taurus, service, conflicts, legal matters, health, and the 11th house, Libra, gains, alliances, income, recognition. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus occupies Libra, 11th house, own sign, or Pisces, 4th house, exalted. Both placements powerfully elevate Venus's ability to grant wealth, social elevation, public admiration, and luxurious comforts, while balancing Sagittarius's ethical quest with refined material success. Venus, 6th and 11th Lord in Libra, 11th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the 11th house produces excellent social networks, steady wealth accumulation, and high social visibility. The native enjoys prosperity through partnerships, group associations, or public favor. Malavya Yoga here produces popular leaders, influencers, philanthropists, or administrators who combine intellectual ideals with practical wealth building and a wide circle of admirers. Venus, 6th and 11th Lord. In Pisces, 4th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 4th house blesses the native with a beautiful home, real estate prosperity, emotional contentment, and artistic taste. This Malavya Yoga grants material comfort, career stability, and public prestige in fields like education, arts, public administration, or spiritual leadership, where both compassion and refinement are central. Jupiter, Lagna Lord in Pisces, 4th house, own sign, amplifying Venus's grace with Dharma. Jupiter's own sign placement alongside exalted Venus creates a deeply dharmic and benevolent personality. The native becomes a highly respected teacher, counselor, public figure, or head of an institution who uses wealth, knowledge, and social influence for higher ethical causes. Moon, 8th Lord, in Taurus, 6th house, exalted, stabilizing Venus's material comfort and dispute management. Exalted Moon provides emotional resilience, particularly in handling conflict, crises, and legal matters. The native becomes an excellent mediator, advisor, or strategist who gracefully overcomes obstacles and maintains public favor, even through adversities. Mercury, 7th and 10th Lord, in Virgo, 10th house, exalted, sharpening Venus's professional and partnership skills. Exalted Mercury gives excellent career management, legal expertise, and diplomatic partnerships. This combination strengthens the native's leadership in law, government, or corporate management, where intelligence, refinement, and negotiation are critical. Mars, 5th and 12th Lord, in Aries, 5th house, own sign, energizing Venus's creative leadership. Mars provides courage and bold leadership in education, entertainment, speculative ventures, and intellectual arenas. The native confidently balances creativity and ambition, often becoming a public personality, artist, or political figure who combines bold vision with graceful public engagement. Saturn, 2nd and 3rd Lord, in Capricorn, 2nd house, own sign, grounding Venus's wealth into stable financial structures. Saturn grants long-term wealth accumulation, family stability, and disciplined financial management. The native builds sustainable prosperity and family legacies while using Venus's charm and social skill to develop powerful networks and institutional control. Rahu in Pisces, 4th house, conjunct exalted Venus. If placed, Rahu amplifies Venus's desire for luxury, comfort, and public attention through real estate, hospitality, or global business. When guided by Jupiter's ethics, this produces world-renowned entrepreneurs or leaders of global foundations. Without guidance, it may trigger indulgence and comfort at the cost of spiritual balance. Ketu in Virgo, 10th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu brings detachment from career ego, allowing the native to serve larger social or spiritual missions despite professional success. Disposed by Mercury, it helps the native balance public leadership with intellectual humility, making Malavya Yoga both materially successful and karmically elevated. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Capricorn rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Capricorn ascendants ruled by Saturn, symbolizing discipline, structure, and long-term achievement, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces refinement, prosperity, beauty, and diplomacy into their otherwise highly pragmatic, serious, and responsibility-driven nature. While Capricorn natives naturally pursue power through patient hard work, Malavya Yoga allows them to combine material ambition with personal charm, social grace, and refined leadership. The yoga's full outcome depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether Saturn's discipline supports Venus's refinement without suppressing enjoyment or relationship harmony. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Capricorn Lagna, Venus rules the 5th house, Taurus, intelligence, creativity, children, speculation, and 10th house, Libra, career, profession, public standing. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus is in Libra, 10th house, own sign, or Pisces, 3rd house, exalted. Both placements allow Venus to directly control career, creativity, public image, and relationships, making Malavya Yoga one of the most materially powerful yogas for Capricorn rising, blending luxury, creativity, leadership, and refined social power. Venus, 5th and 10th Lord, in Libra, 10th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the 10th house gives tremendous career success, social prestige, and public admiration. The native rises in fields where beauty, diplomacy, management, and public relations are critical, such as corporate leadership, politics, arts administration, or law. This is one of the most powerful expressions of Malavya Yoga for Capricorn, allowing them to hold graceful authority while managing complex institutions or public systems. Venus, 5th and 10th Lord, in Pisces, 3rd house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 3rd house brings powerful creative intelligence, courage in self-expression, and great success in media, communication, writing, performing arts, or international diplomacy. This version of Malavya Yoga allows Capricorn natives to combine their strategic approach with highly refined creative and communicative abilities, often giving success in publishing, negotiations, and leadership in artistic or intellectual industries. Saturn, Lagna Lord, in Capricorn, 1st house, own sign, controlling Venus's material rise with responsibility. Saturn provides stability, endurance, and karmic discipline. When aligned with Venus's Malavya Yoga, Saturn ensures the native builds stable institutions, sustainable wealth, and long-term professional legacies while remaining socially graceful, avoiding excessive indulgence, and maintaining public respect. Moon, 7th Lord, in Taurus, 5th house, exalted, balancing Venus's creative and partnership success. Exalted Moon enhances emotional security, public appeal, and artistic creativity. The native enjoys supportive relationships, becomes influential in public life, and thrives in sectors requiring both emotional intelligence and aesthetic refinement, such as politics, education, or media leadership. Jupiter, 3rd and 12th Lord, in Pisces, 3rd house, own sign, supporting Venus's courage and intellectual refinement. Jupiter's presence alongside exalted Venus in the 3rd house adds ethical courage, wisdom in communication, and spiritualized leadership. The native may become a globally respected educator, writer, or reformer who balances creative output with service to larger societal or philosophical missions. Mercury, 6th and 9th Lord, in Virgo, 9th house, exalted, refining Venus's dharmic authority. Exalted Mercury sharpens intellectual judgment, legal skill, and higher education. This combination enhances Venus's ability to lead in academic, judicial, or corporate policymaking fields where intellectual precision and ethical diplomacy are both essential. Mars, 4th and 11th Lord, in Aries, 4th house, own sign, energizing Venus's wealth building and institutional leadership. Mars provides ambition, courage, and organizational control in matters related to property, institutions, or government. When combined with Malavya Yoga, the native becomes a masterful administrator or business leader capable of managing large-scale operations with charm and authority. Rahu in Pisces, third house, conjunct exalted Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's creative ambition, communication influence, and media outreach. Properly guided, this produces internationally famous entertainers, artists, or political reformers who balance popularity with profound creativity. Unchecked, Rahu may lead to excessive ambition or media scandals. Ketu in Virgo, ninth house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu fosters humility in matters of higher knowledge and personal belief systems. Disposed by Mercury, it allows the native to blend intellectual brilliance with spiritual detachment, ensuring that Venus's Malavya Yoga supports leadership without attachment to fame, resulting in dignified service and karmic balance. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Aquarius rising. Core principles, strength versus influence. For Aquarius ascendants, ruled by Saturn, representing structure, innovation, and collective responsibility, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces refinement, luxury, beauty, and graceful relationship management into their otherwise intellectual, reform-oriented, and socially detached nature. Aquarius natives are visionaries with a tendency toward idealism and group focus. Malavya Yoga allows them to manifest wealth, social charm, and influential partnerships while balancing their larger humanitarian goals with personal comfort and refinement. The full expression of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how Saturn's responsibility balances Venus's pursuit of pleasure. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Aquarius Lagna, Venus rules the fourth house, Taurus, home, comfort, mother, emotional foundation, and the ninth house, Libra, Dharma, fortune, higher knowledge, international success. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus occupies Libra, ninth house own sign, or Pisces, second house exalted. Both placements strongly influence fortune, wealth, social reputation, and ethical leadership. Venus refines Aquarius's innovative mind into graceful public success, spiritual wisdom, and material comfort. Venus, fourth and ninth lord in Libra, ninth house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the ninth house produces great fortune, international fame, and ethical leadership. The native becomes a respected public figure, diplomat, or global leader who excels in balancing beauty, justice, and dharmic principles. This Malavya Yoga supports careers in international law, diplomacy, education, arts, or public policy, where both intellectual and aesthetic grace are admired. Venus, fourth and ninth lord, in Pisces, second house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the second house brings extraordinary wealth, refined speech, family stability, and mastery over luxury industries. The native becomes highly successful in finance, consulting, public speaking, luxury businesses, or high-level corporate negotiations. Malavya Yoga here grants both inner satisfaction and external prosperity with tremendous public admiration. Saturn, Lagna Lord in Aquarius, first house, own sign, anchoring Venus's prosperity with discipline and karmic responsibility. Saturn ensures long-term success, reputation, and wise wealth management. With Malavya Yoga active, the native becomes a stable institutional leader who combines elegance and duty, leading public organizations, corporations, or global reform initiatives while maintaining ethical standards. Moon, sixth lord in Taurus, fourth house, exalted, strengthening Venus's emotional and domestic harmony. Exalted moon brings comfort, inner peace, real estate success, and steady emotions. The native enjoys both luxurious home life and public reputation while handling conflicts with grace and diplomacy, excelling in careers involving government, hospitality, or international affairs. Jupiter, second and 11th lord, in Pisces, second house, own sign, greatly amplifying Venus's wealth and fortune. Jupiter's placement alongside exalted Venus forms a highly fortunate Dana Yoga. The native becomes a powerful wealth creator, spiritual counselor, financial magnate, or international negotiator, blending prosperity with higher ethical values and service to society. Mercury, 5th and 8th lord in Virgo, 8th house, exalted, refining Venus's control over wealth and shared resources. Exalted Mercury sharpens intellect for financial management, legal negotiations, and deep institutional reforms. The native excels in wealth management, corporate governance, insurance, law, or crisis management while maintaining grace and public favor. Mars, 3rd and 10th Lord, in Aries, 3rd house, own sign, energizing Venus's courage and leadership. Mars provides bold initiative in business, leadership, and strategic communication. Combined with Malavya Yoga, the native excels in entrepreneurial ventures, international trade, media, or corporate expansion, while building partnerships that bring sustained wealth and recognition. Rahu in Pisces' 2nd house, conjunct exalted Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's drive for luxury, wealth, and public recognition. If properly guided by Jupiter's wisdom, this creates globally admired business leaders, celebrities, or diplomats. Without ethical restraint, Rahu may lead to greed or financial excess that challenges long-term balance. Ketu in Virgo, 8th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu fosters detachment from ego in handling deep financial matters in secretive environments. Disposed by Mercury, it grants intellectual humility and strategic mastery, allowing Venus's Malavya Yoga to function with karmic responsibility, service, and dignified wealth building that benefits collective progress. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Pisces rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Pisces ascendants, ruled by Jupiter, representing faith, wisdom, and spiritual expansion, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces material grace, refined taste, harmonious partnerships, and wealth-building abilities into their inherently spiritual, imaginative, and emotionally sensitive nature. Pisces natives are drawn toward service, teaching, and creative pursuits. Malavya Yoga brings balance by anchoring their expansive dreams into financial stability, relational harmony, and public grace. The full expression of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how well Jupiter and Venus cooperate to balance spiritual ideals with worldly success. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Pisces Lagna, Venus rules the 3rd house, Taurus, courage, communication, self-effort, enterprise. And 8th house, Libra, hidden wealth, joint assets, transformations, longevity. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus is placed in Libra, 8th own sign, or Pisces, 1st house exalted. In Pisces rising, both placements bring enormous potential for wealth through partnerships, charisma, and public appeal, while adding depth, grace, and emotional refinement to the Pisces personality. Venus, 3rd and 8th Lord, in Pisces' 1st house, exalted and unafflicted. This is one of the most complete and natural expressions of Malavya Yoga for Pisces rising. Venus exalted in Lagna grants personal charm, beauty, artistic talent, and magnetic appeal. The native may become a beloved teacher, artist, spiritual counselor, diplomat, or public figure known for their grace, generosity, and refined presence. They attract wealth, admiration, and harmonious relationships while maintaining their inherently spiritual orientation. Venus, 3rd and 8th Lord, in Libra, 8th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the 8th house brings mastery over joint assets, inheritance, occult knowledge, and financial management. The native becomes skilled in high-stakes financial dealings, wealth management, insurance, or spiritual healing fields, where deep emotional insight combines with material control. Malavya Yoga here allows for hidden sources of wealth and strong marital partnerships that support the native's rise. Jupiter, Lagna Lord, in Pisces' 1st house, own sign, guiding Venus's exaltation with Dharma. Jupiter's strength amplifies Venus's refinement with spiritual depth and ethical grounding. The native rises as a charismatic spiritual leader, teacher, or globally admired counselor who blends beauty, compassion, and dharmic wisdom into their public and personal life. Moon, 5th Lord, in Taurus, 3rd house, exalted, harmonizing Venus's creativity and communication. Exalted Moon enhances creativity, emotional intelligence, and persuasive communication. The native excels in arts, media, writing, or public speaking, becoming well-loved for both their intellectual depth and emotional warmth, often enjoying international recognition. Mercury, 4th and 7th Lord, in Virgo, 7th house, exalted, refining Venus's partnership and public leadership. Exalted Mercury sharpens intellect, negotiation, and legal expertise. The native excels in marriage, business partnerships, and legal leadership while maintaining a refined and diplomatic public image. They rise as international consultants, corporate leaders, or legal experts. Mars, second and ninth lord in Aries' second house, own sign, energizing Venus's financial foundation. Mars strengthens wealth accumulation, courage and leadership, and dharmic authority. The native confidently manages wealth, public speaking, and family responsibilities while blending spiritual wisdom with material success. Saturn, 11th and 12th lord, in Capricorn, 11th house, own sign, stabilizing Venus's gains and public authority. Saturn's placement ensures long-term wealth, strong social networks, and karmic leadership in institutional reform. The native becomes a respected leader in politics, corporate management, or public service, where patience and ethical leadership are key. Rahu in Pisces, first house, conjunct exalted Venus, if placed here. Rahu intensifies Venus's charm, fame, and global influence. Properly guided by Jupiter's ethics, this produces international celebrities, spiritual influencers, or global business magnates. Without control, Rahu may lead to indulgence or loss of spiritual grounding. Ketu in Virgo's seventh house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu brings detachment in partnerships while allowing the native to form karmically significant alliances. Disposed by Mercury, this fosters intellectual humility and relational wisdom, allowing Venus's Malavya Yoga to express as refined leadership with karmic balance, blending wealth, wisdom, and public service without excessive attachment. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Hamsa Yoga, Libra rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Libra ascendants, ruled by Venus, symbolizing balance, harmony, and diplomacy, the formation of Hamsa Yoga through Jupiter introduces spiritual integrity, moral authority, and higher wisdom into their naturally relationship-oriented aesthetic and socially conscious personality. Libra natives are naturally focused on partnerships, fairness, and public relations. Hamsa Yoga elevates this diplomacy into statesmanship, ethical leadership, and deeply principled governance. The full manifestation of this yoga depends on Jupiter's strength, own exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether Venus's charm merges successfully with Jupiter's Dharma. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Libra Lagna, Jupiter rules the third house, Sagittarius, courage, communication, enterprise, and sixth house, Pisces, service, health, competition, conflict management. Hamsa Yoga classically forms when Jupiter is placed in Pisces, sixth house, own sign, or Cancer, 10th house, exalted. In Libra rising, both placements allow Jupiter to govern service, health, law, and leadership, transforming the native into a leader who excels at handling conflict through wisdom, mediating disputes, and administering public welfare with integrity. Jupiter, third and sixth lord, in Pisces, sixth house, own sign, unafflicted. Jupiter in its own sign in the sixth house gives the native exceptional ability to manage conflicts, handle legal matters, serve others, and reform institutional systems. This version of Hamsa Yoga produces highly capable attorneys, judges, healthcare leaders, or public officials who are respected for their wisdom and fairness in solving complex problems. Jupiter, third and sixth lord, in Cancer, 10th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Jupiter in the 10th house forms a highly powerful Hamsa Yoga for Libra rising. The native gains widespread authority, professional success, and public respect. They may rise to high governmental, judicial, or institutional leadership roles, where their dharmic sense of justice, fairness, and service defines their legacy. This is a combination of moral governance with administrative brilliance. Venus, Lagna Lord, in Libra, first house, own sign, balancing Jupiter's ethical expansion. Venus's strong placement gives the native charm, aesthetic grace, and diplomatic skill. With Jupiter's Hamsa Yoga, the native becomes an ideal public leader, combining softness with moral firmness, succeeding in law, diplomacy, or public negotiations while maintaining impeccable public image and grace under pressure. Moon, 10th Lord in Taurus, 8th house, exalted and stabilizing Jupiter's karmic control. Exalted Moon brings emotional stability amidst challenging situations, especially during legal crises or career transformations. The native possesses calm leadership qualities, becoming an expert in managing institutional reforms, corporate restructuring, or sensitive political negotiations. Mercury, 9th and 12th Lord, in Virgo, 12th house, exalted, refining Jupiter's global and legal influence. Exalted Mercury sharpens intellectual clarity, foreign affairs expertise, and administrative skills. The native excels in international diplomacy, legal reform, or global consulting. Mercury provides practical implementation for Jupiter's higher principles, ensuring policy decisions remain grounded and executable. Mars, 2nd and 7th Lord, in Aries' 7th house, own sign, energizing partnerships and public authority. Mars in own sign brings confidence, boldness, and control in partnerships, legal contracts, and political negotiations. This enhances Jupiter's dharmic authority, producing bold yet principled public leaders, corporate dealmakers, or international legal negotiators. Saturn, 4th and 5th Lord, in Capricorn, 4th house, own sign, grounding Jupiter's leadership with stability. Saturn's discipline and long-term vision ensure Jupiter's wisdom is executed with responsibility and endurance. This combination produces educational heads, policymakers, or judges who build enduring institutions, combining dharmic leadership with structural precision. Rahu in Pisces' 6th house, amplifying Jupiter's ability to resolve disputes. Rahu magnifies Jupiter's influence over conflict resolution and legal reform. Properly guided by Jupiter's ethics, the native may rise as a global leader in judicial reform, healthcare administration, or international humanitarian work. Without guidance, Rahu's expansion may create legal controversies or overextension. Ketu in Virgo, 12th house, disposed by Mercury, Ketu fosters detachment from material rewards while promoting deep research, foreign service, and spiritual growth. Disposed by exalted Mercury, this produces scholars, advisors, or spiritual teachers who balance professional mastery with karmic neutrality, allowing Hamsa Yoga to operate with humility and universal service orientation. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Hamsa Yoga, Sagittarius rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Sagittarius ascendants ruled by Jupiter itself, representing Dharma, higher knowledge, and spiritual expansion, the formation of Hamsa Yoga becomes extremely powerful and deeply central to the chart. Since Jupiter is both the Lagna Lord and the Hamsa Yoga Karaka here, its strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, directly governs health, character, fortune, and karmic fulfillment. Sagittarius natives naturally aspire toward wisdom, justice, teaching, and leadership. Hamsa Yoga magnifies these tendencies into principled authority, global leadership, and lasting moral influence. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Sagittarius Lagna, Jupiter rules both the 1st house, self, vitality, personality, and 4th house, Pisces, inner stability, property, education, emotional foundation. Hamsa Yoga classically forms when Jupiter occupies Pisces, 4th house, own sign, or Cancer, 8th house, exalted. Both placements allow Jupiter to fully express its higher dharmic function for Sagittarius rising, creating visionary leaders who serve as custodians of moral order and public trust. Jupiter, 1st and 4th Lord, in Pisces, 4th house, own sign, unafflicted. Jupiter in own sign in the 4th house gives deep emotional stability, a strong educational foundation, and profound wisdom applied to governance and social service. This Hamsa Yoga produces ethical administrators, spiritual teachers, religious heads, or education policymakers who build stable institutions and serve society with compassion and moral vision. Jupiter, 1st and 4th Lord in Cancer, 8th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Jupiter in 8th house provides mastery over hidden knowledge, occult wisdom, crisis management, and long-term financial control. This form of Hamsa Yoga produces highly respected advisors, researchers, healers, or judicial authorities who lead during transitions and transformations while remaining guided by ethical clarity and karmic insight. Venus, 6th and 11th Lord, in Libra, 11th house, own sign, amplifying Jupiter's social influence. Venus in own sign promotes harmonious networks, financial prosperity, and diplomatic leadership. Combined with Hamsa Yoga, this enables the native to build powerful alliances, lead philanthropic organizations, or become a global spokesperson for legal, educational, or religious reform. Moon, 8th Lord in Taurus, 6th house, exalted and stabilizing Jupiter's crisis management. Exalted Moon brings emotional steadiness under conflict and adversity. It allows the native to remain calm during complex legal or political crises, strengthening Jupiter's leadership in managing social or institutional conflicts. The native may serve as a judge, arbitrator, or social reformer who resolves high-stakes disputes. Mercury, 7th and 10th Lord, in Virgo, 10th house, exalted and aligning with Jupiter's Dharma. Exalted Mercury sharpens administrative expertise, career planning, and public communication. Its placement supports legal mastery, government service, or educational leadership, allowing the native to bring Jupiter's lofty ideals into practical policy and organizational execution. Mars, 5th and 12th Lord in Aries, 5th house, own sign, fueling intellectual courage. Mars in own sign empowers speculative decisions, intellectual leadership, and educational innovation. The native becomes a fearless educator, spiritual guide, or global leader who combines courage with wisdom in shaping public discourse or leading large institutions. Saturn, 2nd and 3rd Lord, in Capricorn, 2nd house, own sign, anchoring financial stability. Saturn stabilizes wealth, resources, and long-term family legacy. It provides the grounding necessary for Jupiter's expansive tendencies, ensuring that ethical wealth is accumulated and managed responsibly for future generations or social projects. Rahu in Aries, 5th house, amplifying Jupiter's creative and educational expansion. Rahu intensifies the native's desire for public recognition through intellectual innovation, political leadership, or spiritual teachings. If properly guided by Jupiter, this creates prominent reformers, political heads, or spiritual influencers with global recognition. Without control, Rahu may lead to overambition or dogmatism. Ketu in Libra, 11th house, disposed by Venus Ketu in 11th, allows detachment from material gains while preserving influence over networks and institutional growth. Disposed by Venus, it encourages ethical wealth building and spiritual philanthropy, blending Jupiter's Hamsa Yoga into a karmically refined leadership path rooted in higher service rather than personal ambition. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Hamsa Yoga, Capricorn rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Capricorn ascendants, ruled by Saturn, symbolizing discipline, responsibility, and long-term structure, the formation of Hamsa Yoga through Jupiter introduces expansion, ethics, and spiritual wisdom into a fundamentally cautious, practical, and goal-oriented personality. Capricorn natives naturally strive for power through methodical hard work and patience. Hamsa Yoga softens and elevates this, allowing them to blend dharmic vision with worldly authority. The full expression of this yoga depends on Jupiter's strength, own exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether Saturn's structure and Jupiter's expansion operate in mutual support. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Capricorn Lagna, Jupiter rules the 3rd house, Pisces, courage, communication, enterprise, and 12th house, Sagittarius, foreign lands, spirituality, detachment, large institutions. Hamsa Yoga classically forms when Jupiter occupies Pisces, 3rd house, own sign, or Cancer, 7th house, exalted. In Capricorn rising, both placements create powerful opportunities for Jupiter to transform communications, leadership, and international or institutional service through spiritualized leadership and principled expansion. Jupiter, 3rd and 12th Lord, in Pisces, 3rd house, own sign, unafflicted. Jupiter in its own sign in the 3rd house produces highly courageous, ethical communicators and reformers. The native becomes a skillful orator, teacher, or diplomat who channels dharmic vision into public speaking, legal advocacy, publishing, or international negotiations. Hamsa Yoga here creates visionary statesmen who influence public thought while promoting fairness and higher wisdom. Jupiter, 3rd and 12th Lord, in Cancer, 7th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Jupiter in 7th house produces masterful negotiators, powerful advisors, and highly respected public figures. The native excels in business alliances, marriage partnerships, and public service. This version of Hamsa Yoga supports high-ranking political leaders, judges, international diplomats, or religious heads whose reputation rests on integrity, fairness, and benevolence. Saturn, Lagna Lord, in Capricorn 1st house, own sign, directing Jupiter's Dharma toward structure. Saturn's own placement in Lagna gives steady endurance, focus, and karmic control. When supported by Jupiter's Hamsa Yoga, the native rises as a highly respected long-term leader who creates stable systems, policy frameworks, or institutional reforms. Saturn ensures Jupiter's ideals are manifested through disciplined execution. Moon, 7th Lord in Taurus, 5th house, exalted and emotionally grounding Jupiter's diplomacy. Exalted Moon brings emotional grace, creativity, and favorable social presence. It helps the native maintain balance and empathy while navigating leadership, partnerships, and public negotiations. Combined with Hamsa Yoga, this produces deeply compassionate public figures who win trust through both wisdom and warmth. Venus, 5th and 10th Lord, in Taurus, 5th house, own sign, refining Jupiter's leadership through diplomacy. Venus brings charm, artistic refinement, and smooth handling of public life. It allows the native to build career authority while maintaining harmony and public support. Venus's interaction with Hamsa Yoga produces charismatic leaders who skillfully blend power and compassion. Mercury, 6th and 9th Lord, in Virgo, 9th house, exalted, sharpening Jupiter's Dharma and judgment. Exalted Mercury in the 9th house sharpens the native's legal, academic, and advisory brilliance. This pairing with Hamsa Yoga creates highly respected judges, lawyers, religious teachers, or policymakers who balance technical mastery with ethical clarity. Mars, 4th and 11th Lord, in Aries, 4th house, own sign, energizing Jupiter's institutional authority. Mars in its own sign supports courage in home affairs, real estate, and organizational management. Mars fuels Jupiter's expansive leadership with decisiveness, allowing the native to build strong institutions, lead government bodies, or manage large-scale administrative reforms. Rahu in Pisces, 3rd house, amplifying Jupiter's outreach and communication authority. Rahu magnifies Jupiter's influence in public communication, publishing, and media leadership. The native may achieve global fame as a writer, teacher, or thought leader. With proper guidance from Jupiter's dharmic nature, this combination produces mass influencers who shape public opinion toward moral progress. Ketu in Virgo, 9th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu in 9th allows the native to detach from personal ambition while remaining deeply committed to teaching, higher education, and spiritual guidance. Disposed by Mercury, this strengthens intellectual humility, allowing Hamsa Yoga to manifest as profound service to law, governance, or religious leadership with karmic neutrality and selflessness. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Hamsa Yoga, Pisces rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Pisces ascendants, ruled by Jupiter itself, embodying compassion, spiritual wisdom, and surrender, Hamsa Yoga becomes one of the most natural and powerful yogas in the entire zodiac. Since Jupiter is both the Lagna Lord and the Hamsa Yoga planet, its strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, controls not only spiritual evolution, but also material success, public recognition, and karmic fulfillment. Pisces natives naturally carry intuitive intelligence, faith, and creativity. Hamsa Yoga lifts these tendencies into dharmic authority, global leadership, and healing capacities. The full expression depends on Jupiter's dignity and the supporting planets that stabilize the ascendant's innate sensitivity. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Pisces Lagna, Jupiter rules both the 1st house, self, physical body, life path, and the 10th house, Sagittarius, career, authority, karma. Hamsa Yoga forms classically when Jupiter occupies Pisces, 1st house, own sign, or Cancer, 5th house, exalted. Both placements are extremely favorable for Pisces rising, producing profound ethical, intellectual, and spiritual influence. Here, Jupiter not only governs personal development, but also public authority, making the native a potential guide for others. Jupiter, 1st and 10th Lord, in Pisces, 1st house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the purest form of Hamsa Yoga for Pisces rising. The native becomes deeply spiritual, morally upright, and naturally compassionate. They excel as teachers, healers, counselors, or religious leaders. With this yoga, they possess both personal humility and public authority, often gaining international recognition for their service, wisdom, and ability to uplift others. Jupiter, 1st and 10th Lord, in Cancer, 5th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Jupiter in the 5th house brings exceptional intellectual brilliance, creativity, and spiritual leadership. The native becomes a teacher of teachers, guiding others through education, scripture, law, or philosophy. This form of Hamsa Yoga often produces gurus, saints, judges, or spiritual reformers whose influence shapes generations. Venus, 3rd and 8th Lord, in Taurus, 3rd house, own sign, refining Jupiter's communication and diplomacy. Venus enhances charm, diplomacy, and artistic abilities. The native communicates with grace, attracting followers and creating beauty through speech, writing, or teaching. Venus brings stability to Jupiter's expansion, allowing the native to build meaningful partnerships and networks in spiritual, academic, or diplomatic fields. Moon, fifth lord, in Taurus, third house, exalted and empowering Jupiter's higher knowledge. Exalted moon brings emotional maturity, intuitive wisdom, and creative power. It enhances the native's teaching ability, giving them profound memory, deep compassion, and the ability to express complex knowledge with simplicity and warmth. This further elevates Jupiter's Hamsa Yoga into global teaching or healing roles. Mercury, fourth and seventh lord, in Virgo, seventh house, exalted, sharpening Jupiter's public leadership. Exalted Mercury provides strategic clarity, legal expertise, and exceptional negotiation skills. The native excels in building international alliances, legal counsel, public administration, and policy advisory roles where Dharma and technical precision merge seamlessly. Mars, second and ninth lord, in Aries, second house, own sign, empowering Jupiter's financial and dharmic authority. Mars in its own sign boosts wealth generation, strong values, and bold ethical decisions. The native becomes a fearless spiritual leader, advisor, or head of institutions where both financial strength and dharmic responsibility are crucial. Mars energizes Jupiter's ethical vision with courage and execution power. Saturn, 11th and 12th lord, in Capricorn, 11th house, own sign, stabilizing Jupiter's long-term influence. Saturn provides durable leadership, patient wealth building, and institutional control. It helps channel Jupiter's idealism into structured reforms, large-scale organizations, or long-term global service. Saturn balances Jupiter's expansiveness with realistic karmic execution. Rahu in Pisces' first house, conjunct Jupiter if placed here. Rahu amplifies Jupiter's charisma, spiritual ambition, and mass appeal. The native may become a global spiritual icon, political leader, or public figure with massive influence. With proper Jupiterian control, this produces reformers who change institutions and collective beliefs. Without balance, it may inflate spiritual ego or ideological extremism. Ketu in Virgo, 7th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu fosters detachment from personal desires and relationships, allowing the native to serve others selflessly. Disposed by exalted Mercury, it refines intellectual humility, making the native a karmically evolved teacher, counselor, or leader who combines personal sacrifice with exceptional wisdom, fulfilling the highest form of Hamsa Yoga. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Aries rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Aries ascendants, ruled by Mars, representing action, force, and leadership, Malavya Yoga formed by Venus brings refinement, diplomacy, artistic sensibility, and material grace into the native's otherwise aggressive and action-oriented personality. Aries natives are naturally bold and independent. Malavya Yoga introduces the ability to balance personal ambition with charm, aesthetics, and strong relationship skills. The full power of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and the planetary environment that stabilizes Venus's softening energy in an otherwise fiery Lagna. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Aries Lagna, Venus rules the second house, Taurus, wealth, family, speech, and seventh house, Libra, partnerships, business alliances, public image. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus occupies Libra, seventh house, own sign, or Pisces, 12th house, exalted. Both placements fall into Kendras for Aries Lagna, allowing the yoga to operate with full strength. Malavya Yoga grants beauty, wealth, balanced relationships, and a strong public presence while refining the Mars-driven Aries nature with diplomacy and attraction. Venus, 2nd and 7th lord in Libra, 7th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is one of the purest expressions of Malavya Yoga for Aries rising. Venus in own sign in the 7th house brings harmonious relationships, successful business partnerships, public recognition, and a naturally magnetic personality. The native may rise as a diplomat, business leader, or influential public figure who combines courage with charm. This Venus balances the Aries tendency for dominance by attracting cooperation and admiration. Sard Venus, 2nd and 7th lord in Pisces, 12th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in 12th house brings spiritualized love, artistic talent, and prosperity from foreign lands or distant connections. The native becomes highly creative, potentially working in international business, luxury trades, hospitality, or spiritual counseling. This version of Malavya Yoga allows the Aries native to find beauty and wealth while remaining inwardly detached, often combining material success with philanthropic or spiritual work. Mars, Lagna Lord, in Aries' first house, own sign, fueling Venus's worldly success. Mars provides personal strength, boldness, and initiative. When Venus's Malavya Yoga is active, Mars drives the ambition while Venus supplies social refinement. The native becomes a bold entrepreneur, leader, or reformer who builds partnerships and organizations with both courage and charm. Moon, fourth lord, in Taurus, second house, exalted and stabilizing Venus's wealth-giving potential. Exalted moon supports emotional intelligence, wealth accumulation, and stable family life. Its connection to Venus enhances financial growth, business negotiations, and public charm. The native excels in professions requiring both financial acumen and personal warmth. Jupiter, 9th and 12th lord, in Sagittarius, 9th house, own sign, giving dharmic backing to Venus's worldly expansion. Jupiter brings higher wisdom, moral guidance, and ethical leadership. The combination of Jupiter's Dharma and Venus's refinement elevates the native into positions of respected public authority, where beauty, ethics, and service to society coexist harmoniously. Mercury, 3rd and 6th lord, in Gemini, 3rd house, own sign, enhancing Venus's communication mastery. Mercury sharpens negotiation skills, diplomacy, and business intelligence. The native thrives in roles where quick thinking, eloquent speech, and strategic relationship management bring professional success, often in business, legal fields, or international negotiations. Saturn, 10th and 11th lord, in Capricorn, 10th house, own sign, grounding Venus's rise into structured public leadership. Saturn provides long-term stability, career authority, and institutional success. With Malavya Yoga active, the native becomes a highly respected leader, administrator, or executive who skillfully blends long-term planning with graceful public interaction. Rahu in Libra, 7th house, conjunct Venus, if placed here. Rahu magnifies Venus's desire for fame, partnerships, and material pleasures. If guided well by Jupiter's ethics and Saturn's discipline, this combination produces globally recognized public figures, entertainers, or business leaders. Unchecked, it may bring excessive indulgence or complicated relationships. Ketu in Aries, first house, disposed by Mars. Ketu in Lagna creates inner detachment despite external success. While Venus brings material success, Ketu allows the native to remain spiritually centered, often leading to a leadership role where personal ego is minimized and service or creative work becomes the highest priority, making Malavya Yoga spiritually refined. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Taurus rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Taurus ascendants, ruled by Venus itself, Malavya Yoga becomes even more powerful because Venus not only forms the yoga, but also governs the native's entire identity, health, and life direction. Taurus natives naturally seek stability, comfort, beauty, and financial security. Malavya Yoga amplifies these qualities into refined leadership, wealth accumulation, powerful relationships, and mastery over aesthetics, luxury, and diplomacy. The full potential of Malavya Yoga here depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how other planets support or challenge Venus's ability to convert pleasure into purpose. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Taurus Lagna, Venus rules both the first house, self, personality, physical form, and the sixth house, Libra, conflict management, service, daily work, legal affairs. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus occupies Taurus, first house, own sign, or Pisces, 11th house, exalted. Both positions allow this yoga to directly influence both self and gains, producing natives with attractive personalities, social grace, artistic ability, and immense wealth-building potential. Venus, 1st and 6th lord in Taurus, first house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the most natural and pure Malavya Yoga for Taurus rising. Venus in its own sign blesses the native with physical beauty, charm, personal magnetism, and stable health. The person often excels in industries tied to luxury, real estate, art, design, finance, or diplomacy. Their presence itself becomes an asset as they attract favorable opportunities and high-level partnerships simply through their graceful and stable nature. Venus, 1st and 6th lord in Pisces, 11th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in 11th house brings enormous gains, wide social networks, and access to high circles of power and influence. The native easily attracts benefactors, influential allies, and profitable ventures. Malavya Yoga here produces philanthropists, business magnates, global artists, or heads of powerful organizations where wealth and service go hand in hand. Moon, third lord, in Taurus, first house, exalted and fortifying Venus's personal grace. Exalted moon enhances the native's emotional strength, beauty, and public appeal. When moon supports Venus directly, the native becomes exceptionally attractive, emotionally stable, and successful in professions requiring public admiration, negotiation, or creative leadership. Jupiter, 8th and 11th lord, in Pisces, 11th house, own sign, expanding Venus's wealth-building power. Jupiter supports spiritualized wealth, ethical leadership, and long-term expansion. This combination produces powerful business leaders, philanthropists, or educational reformers who combine financial mastery with spiritual values. The native enjoys sustained prosperity while also uplifting others. Mercury, 2nd and 5th lord, in Virgo, 5th house, exalted, refining Venus's intellectual and financial precision. Exalted Mercury strengthens wealth management, strategic intelligence, and creative expression. This combination favors successful investors, legal advisors, or creative directors who skillfully balance artistic talent with sharp financial acumen. Mars, 7th and 12th lord, in Aries, 12th house, own sign, energizing Venus's foreign and luxury-oriented enterprises. Mars energizes international partnerships, spiritual travels, and industries tied to luxury, wellness, or hospitality. The native may lead large global businesses or diplomatic missions, skillfully managing foreign alliances and charitable ventures. Saturn, 9th and 10th lord, in Capricorn, 9th house, own sign, anchoring Venus's rise through Dharma and public service. Saturn's strong placement grants longevity, public status, and institutional leadership. This stabilizes Venus's wealth and fame into structures that endure across decades, making the native a respected head of organizations, governments, or long-term charitable foundations. Rahu in Pisces, 11th house, conjunct exalted Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's capacity for wealth, fame, and global influence. When well-directed, the native becomes an international celebrity, corporate leader, or global reformer who combines beauty, wealth, and diplomacy on a grand scale. Without ethical grounding, this may lead to indulgence or unstable personal life. Ketu in Virgo, 5th house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu provides detachment from ego while enhancing spiritual and creative expression. The native excels in teaching, counseling, or spiritual guidance while remaining karmically humble. This balances Malavya Yoga into a path where luxury and spiritual depth coexist, allowing Venus's gifts to serve higher purposes. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Gemini rising. Core principle, strength versus influence, for Gemini ascendants ruled by Mercury, symbolizing intellect, communication, and adaptability. Malavya Yoga, formed by Venus, brings refinement, harmony, wealth building, relationship mastery, and artistic sophistication into an otherwise intellectually restless nature. Gemini natives are naturally curious and mentally agile. Malavya Yoga stabilizes this with grace, diplomacy, and an ability to build prosperous and harmonious personal and professional alliances. The full expression of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how the Mercury-Venus combination balances both mind and aesthetics. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Gemini Lagna, Venus rules the 5th house, Libra, creativity, intelligence, children, speculative success, and the 12th house, Taurus, foreign lands, spiritual isolation, luxury expenses. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus occupies Libra, 5th house, own sign, or Pisces, 10th house, exalted. Both placements allow Venus to directly influence Gemini's creative output, career growth, and public success while blending artistry with intellect. Venus, 5th and 12th lord, in Libra, 5th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in own sign in the 5th house gives natural talent in arts, education, public speaking, and speculative ventures. The native excels in professions related to media, entertainment, teaching, consulting, or design, where both intelligence and beauty are valued. Malavya Yoga here provides not only fame and financial success, but also refined creativity and strong influence over audiences. Venus, 5th and 12th Lord in Pisces, 10th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 10th house produces great public recognition, professional rise, and leadership in industries tied to luxury, arts, entertainment, diplomacy, or global service. This Malavya Yoga allows the Gemini native to gain fame through creativity, charm, and leadership. They are often elevated to high administrative roles where they combine intellectual brilliance with diplomacy and a refined public image. Mercury, Lagna Lord in Gemini, 1st house, own sign, directly governing Venus's refinement. Mercury's placement in Lagna enhances speech, intelligence, and adaptability. With Venus's Malavya Yoga supporting it, Mercury provides the mental sharpness to manage creative projects, business alliances, and intellectual negotiations with ease and grace, allowing the native to thrive in advisory, financial, or leadership roles that demand both analysis and social skill. Moon, 2nd Lord in Taurus, 12th house, exalted, harmonizing wealth and luxury with Venus. Exalted Moon strengthens financial stability, material security, and refined speech. The native becomes emotionally composed, enjoys foreign connections, and builds wealth through creative or global ventures. Combined with Venus's Malavya Yoga, this enhances their ability to attract wealth, admirers, and peaceful emotional environments. Jupiter, 7th and 10th Lord in Pisces, 10th house, own sign, amplifying Venus's career success. Jupiter's rulership of both career and partnerships directly supports Venus's exaltation in the same house. This creates a highly ethical, prosperous, and socially respected leader in diplomacy, corporate leadership, education, or legal advisory roles. Jupiter's wisdom ensures that the Venusian success remains grounded in Dharma. Mars, 6th and 11th Lord, in Aries, 11th house, own sign, energizing Venus's gains and public outreach. Mars boosts ambition, networking, and bold pursuit of wealth and alliances. Together with Malavya Yoga, this fuels success in politics, media, entertainment, or entrepreneurial ventures where the native aggressively expands their influence while maintaining elegance and charm. Saturn, 8th and 9th Lord, in Capricorn, 8th house, own sign, giving karmic stability to Venus's fortune. Saturn ensures the native's leadership survives through discipline, patience, and karmic responsibility. It anchors Venus's luxurious tendencies into long-term success, often producing individuals who manage vast wealth, family legacies, or institutional reforms while remaining ethical and patient. Rahu in Pisces, 10th house, conjunct exalted Venus, if placed here. Rahu magnifies Venus's desire for global influence, fame, and status. Properly managed through Jupiter's dharmic influence, this produces major international leaders, celebrities, or reformers. Without control, Rahu may pull the native toward excessive ambition, vanity, or materialism. Ketu in Virgo, 4th house, disposed by Mercury, Ketu fosters detachment from excessive emotional dependency while sharpening intellectual detachment. This combination allows the native to maintain calm amidst career fluctuations, balancing Venus's rise with humility and spiritual grounding. It often produces brilliant educators, consultants, or spiritual counselors who integrate wealth with service. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Cancer rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Cancer ascendants, ruled by the moon, symbolizing emotions, nurturing, and security, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces refinement, beauty, wealth, harmonious relationships, and artistic sophistication into the deeply emotional and protective Cancer personality. While Cancer is naturally nurturing and intuitive, Malavya Yoga brings material grace, luxury, and balance, helping the native build prosperity while enjoying aesthetic and relational fulfillment. The yoga's full potential depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how well Moon and Venus integrate emotional sensitivity with material grace. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Cancer Lagna, Venus rules the 4th house, Libra, home, emotional security, property, inner stability, and 11th house, Taurus, wealth, social networks, long-term gains. Malavya Yoga classically forms when Venus occupies Libra, 4th house, own sign, or Pisces, 9th house, exalted. Both are Kendras and Kona for Pisces, allowing this yoga to manifest very powerfully for Cancer rising, giving wealth, comfort, elegant living, stable home life, and public popularity. Venus, 4th and 11th Lord in Libra, 4th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the fourth house produces a luxurious home environment, real estate success, emotional stability, and love for beauty, music, and comfort. The native excels in industries like real estate, interior design, luxury hospitality, or art-related careers. Malavya Yoga here offers material security along with emotional peace, allowing the Cancer native to enjoy both comfort and admiration. Venus, 4th and 11th Lord, in Pisces' 9th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 9th house produces spiritualized wealth, global recognition, and grace in matters of higher learning, philosophy, and long-distance travels. The native may become a successful educator, diplomat, religious guide, or global entrepreneur, combining Dharma with aesthetics, enjoying both material prosperity and inner wisdom. Moon, Lagna Lord, in Taurus, 11th house, exalted, directly enhancing Venus's wealth-building capacity. Exalted Moon brings emotional stability, strong social support, and popularity. It amplifies Venus's ability to attract wealth and influential allies. The native enjoys both material gains and emotional contentment, often becoming beloved public figures or leaders who combine compassion with diplomacy. Jupiter, 6th and 9th Lord, in Pisces' 9th house, own sign, guiding Venus's dharmic expansion. Jupiter's presence in its own sign in the 9th house alongside exalted Venus creates a deeply ethical and spiritually elevated leader. The native may become a renowned teacher, philanthropist, or policymaker who integrates beauty, wisdom, and ethical wealth building. Mercury, 3rd and 12th Lord, in Virgo, 3rd house, exalted, refining Venus's communication and partnerships. Exalted Mercury sharpens negotiation, communication, and business strategy. This supports Venus's artistic and financial success with intellectual precision, allowing the native to excel in legal, educational, or advisory careers requiring both refinement and sharp thinking. Mars, 5th and 10th Lord, in Aries, 10th house, own sign, energizing Venus's career rise. Mars fuels ambition, leadership, and public status. With Malavya Yoga active, the native rises quickly through government, corporate, or public administrative ranks, blending courage with elegance and fairness. Saturn, 7th and 8th Lord, in Capricorn 7th house, own sign, stabilizing Venus's partnership and public image. Saturn provides disciplined partnerships, long-lasting marriages, and institutional leadership. The native builds solid business or political alliances, achieving fame through both personal integrity and public diplomacy. Rahu in Libra, 4th house, conjunct Venus, if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's desire for luxury, comfort, and public admiration. When properly guided, this creates real estate moguls, interior designers, global hospitality leaders, or artistic icons. Without grounding, it may lead to overindulgence or emotional instability. Ketu in Aries, 10th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu in 10th detaches the native from personal ambition while still enabling professional success. It allows Venus's Malavya Yoga to operate without excessive ego, creating graceful leaders who remain grounded despite public attention and who often serve humanitarian or artistic causes with humility. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Leo rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Leo ascendants, ruled by the sun, symbolizing power, authority, and self-expression, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces grace, beauty, charm, diplomacy, wealth, and relationship mastery into their naturally dominant and self-focused personality. Leo natives seek recognition and leadership, but Malavya Yoga softens their personal magnetism, enhancing their ability to attract partnerships, manage wealth, and lead with both dignity and refinement. The full expression of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether the sun's fiery authority integrates Venus's gentle balancing force. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Leo Lagna, Venus rules the 3rd house, Libra, communication, courage, enterprise, and 10th house, Taurus, profession, authority, karma. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus occupies Taurus, 10th house, own sign, or Pisces, 8th house, exalted. Both placements are highly potent, as they allow Venus to directly influence the career, authority, and social standing of the Leo native, bringing fame, material comfort, and public admiration. Venus, 3rd and 10th Lord, in Taurus, 10th house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the 10th house creates one of the most powerful career-oriented Malavya Yogas. The native rises to positions of authority through grace, charm, and excellent public relations. They often become well-loved leaders in politics, business, arts, or luxury industries, where both power and public admiration coexist. Venus here adds mass appeal, making the Leo native admired for both their leadership and personal elegance. Venus, 3rd and 10th Lord, in Pisces, 8th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 8th house brings mastery over wealth management, hidden assets, and long-term financial stability. The native may succeed in high-level finance, inheritance law, insurance, or leadership roles, requiring confidential negotiations and strategic resource control. This placement also brings an aura of mystery and charm, allowing them to attract powerful partnerships and hidden opportunities. Sun, Lagna Lord in Leo, 1st house, own sign, controlling Venus's material rise. The Sun's own placement strengthens self-confidence, authority, and charisma. With Malavya Yoga supporting career and wealth, the native becomes a public figure who commands attention with both dignity and refined charm, often blending creative leadership with administrative skill. Moon, 12th Lord, in Taurus, 10th house, exalted, amplifying Venus's professional success. Exalted Moon enhances career prestige, public favor, and emotional stability. The native enjoys public popularity, particularly in careers related to arts, diplomacy, politics, or corporate leadership, where personal charm and emotional intelligence enhance their rise. Jupiter, 5th and 8th Lord, in Pisces, 8th house, own sign, elevating Venus's transformative leadership. Jupiter's presence with exalted Venus enhances wealth accumulation through both Dharma and wise investments. This combination may produce financial reformers, spiritual business leaders, or ethical wealth managers who build material legacies while maintaining moral integrity. Mercury, 2nd and 11th Lord in Virgo, 2nd house, exalted, refining Venus's wealth management. Exalted Mercury sharpens financial strategy, speech, and wealth creation. The native becomes a skillful negotiator, wealth advisor, or legal expert who combines intellectual precision with Venus's taste for luxury, making them highly successful in business or high-end consulting. Mars, 4th and 9th Lord, in Aries, 9th house, own sign, fueling dharmic ambition. Mars empowers higher education, leadership in law, or international relations. The native combines bold vision with Venus's diplomatic charm to excel in fields requiring both courage and grace, often gaining global recognition or academic prominence. Saturn, 6th and 7th Lord, in Capricorn, 6th house, own sign, disciplining Venus's relationship management. Saturn ensures long-term stability in partnerships, business alliances, and legal affairs. It tempers Venus's desire for pleasure with responsibility, allowing the native to sustain lasting relationships and solid professional networks rooted in trust and disciplined service. Rahu in Taurus, 10th house, conjunct Venus if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's desire for fame, luxury, and authority. Properly managed, this produces world-famous celebrities, global politicians, or luxury industry leaders. If unchecked, Rahu may create excessive materialism or public controversies that require ethical grounding through Jupiter or Saturn's influence. Ketu in Scorpio, 4th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu fosters inner detachment, allowing the native to remain spiritually grounded despite external success. Disposed by Mars, it grants courage and resilience, ensuring that Venus's Malavya Yoga leads to sustained leadership without attachment to fame, anchoring material success in higher values and personal discipline. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Malavya Yoga, Virgo rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Virgoists ruled by Mercury, symbolizing logic, service, and analytical intelligence, Malavya Yoga through Venus introduces beauty, balance, material comfort, and refined partnerships into the otherwise cautious and detail-oriented Virgo nature. Virgo natives are naturally methodical and self-critical. Malavya Yoga brings charm, wealth, creative flair, and relational grace into their lives. The full potential of this yoga depends on Venus's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and whether the analytical nature of Mercury can blend harmoniously with Venus's softness and luxurious tendencies. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Virgo Lagna, Venus rules the 2nd house, Libra, wealth, family, speech, and 9th house, Taurus, fortune, higher knowledge, ethics. Malavya Yoga forms when Venus is in Libra, 2nd house, own sign, or Pisces, 7th house, exalted. Both are Kendras, and both directly influence wealth, partnerships, family, and public life, making Malavya Yoga highly auspicious for Virgo rising. Venus elevates Virgo's practicality into refined leadership and graceful authority. Venus, 2nd and 9th Lord, in Libra, 2nd house, own sign, unafflicted. Venus in its own sign in the 2nd house creates great wealth, family harmony, excellent speech, and refined personal values. The native becomes a skillful negotiator, diplomat, or financial leader who builds stable wealth through diplomacy, consulting, law, or luxury industries. Malavya Yoga here creates individuals with beautiful speech, commanding presence, and financial acumen. Venus, 2nd and 9th Lord, in Pisces, 7th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Venus in the 7th house creates one of the finest expressions of Malavya Yoga. The native attracts harmonious partnerships, enjoys successful marriages, and excels in business negotiations. This placement gives global recognition, especially in fields related to diplomacy, counseling, law, or creative industries, where relationships are at the heart of professional success. Mercury, Lagna Lord, in Virgo, 1st house, exalted, coordinating Venus's grace with sharp intellect. Mercury's exaltation in Lagna gives brilliant analytical ability and sharp decision-making. With Malavya Yoga supporting partnerships and wealth, the native becomes a highly respected advisor, legal expert, or financial manager who blends precision with diplomacy, often serving as a trusted consultant to powerful individuals or institutions. Moon, 11th Lord, in Taurus, 9th house, exalted and expanding Venus's fortune and social standing. Exalted Moon enhances social networks, financial opportunities, and fortunate life circumstances. The native gains public popularity and creates influential alliances while balancing wealth building with emotional intelligence. Combined with Venus's Malavya Yoga, this creates lasting prosperity. Jupiter, 4th and 7th Lord, in Pisces, 7th house, own sign, powerfully amplifying Venus's partnership blessings. Jupiter's rulership of both emotional stability and partnerships supports Malavya Yoga perfectly. The native rises as a wise leader, legal advisor, or spiritual counselor with both wealth and social respect. This combination blends love, wealth, and wisdom into a public life that serves both material and spiritual objectives. Mars, 3rd and 8th Lord in Aries, 8th house, own sign, energizing Venus's capacity for managing hidden wealth. Mars gives courage in handling complex negotiations, joint assets, and institutional reforms. With Venus's Malavya Yoga, this produces individuals who excel in wealth management, insurance, legal settlements, or high-level corporate finance. Saturn, 5th and 6th Lord, in Capricorn, 5th house, own sign, grounding Venus's creative and professional rise. Saturn stabilizes speculative ventures, educational leadership, and long-term career planning. The native builds wealth and influence gradually through disciplined creativity, often becoming heads of educational institutions, public administrators, or business strategists. Rahu in Pisces, 7th house, conjunct exalted Venus, if placed here. Rahu amplifies Venus's desire for fame, partnerships, and material growth through foreign alliances or unconventional relationships. With Jupiter's guidance, this produces globally connected legal experts, public leaders, or creative entrepreneurs. Without balance, it may attract unstable partnerships or excessive material indulgence. Ketu in Virgo, 1st house, disposed by exalted Mercury. Ketu provides humility and detachment from personal ego despite public success. Disposed by exalted Mercury, this combination produces brilliant counselors, advisors, or healers who combine wealth and power with inner simplicity, allowing Malavya Yoga to express through service-oriented leadership and karmic wisdom. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Aries rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Aries ascendants, ruled by Mars, embodying action, courage, and leadership, Shasha Yoga formed by Saturn introduces structure, discipline, endurance, and long-term strategic control into their otherwise impulsive and aggressive nature. Aries natives are naturally inclined toward bold action. Shasha Yoga balances this with caution, mastery over systems, political acumen, and karmic responsibility. The true power of Shasha Yoga here depends on Saturn's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how Mars allows Saturn to temper the native's quick energy into enduring leadership. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Aries Lagna, Saturn rules the 10th house, Capricorn, profession, status, karmic duties, and 11th house, Aquarius, wealth, networks, gains, ambitions. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn occupies Capricorn, 10th house, own sign, or Libra, 7th house, exalted. Both are Kendras and give Saturn full power to transform Aries natives into highly respected leaders, administrators, or policymakers with long-term public influence. Saturn, 10th and 11th Lord, in Capricorn, 10th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the most classic and powerful expression of Shasha Yoga for Aries rising. Saturn in own sign in the 10th house makes the native a patient, disciplined, and highly responsible leader. The native rises steadily in government, corporate leadership, or public administration, often holding authority for long periods due to their karmic stability, work ethic, and policy-building skill. Saturn, 10th and 11th Lord, in Libra, 7th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 7th house grants stable business partnerships, enduring marriages, and leadership through diplomacy and fair negotiations. The native may succeed in legal affairs, public governance, political alliances, or high-level advisory roles, becoming a respected arbitrator or reformer known for principled decision-making and long-term strategic vision. Mars, Lagna Lord in Aries, 1st house, own sign, powering Saturn's discipline with personal courage. Mars provides initiative, physical strength, and bold leadership, while Saturn supplies patience and stability. This creates an ideal balance of aggressive ambition and strategic control, making the native highly capable of managing large organizations or political movements that require both force and structure. Moon, 4th Lord, in Taurus, 2nd house, exalted, supporting Saturn's financial and family discipline. Exalted Moon brings financial stability, family harmony, and emotional resilience. The native builds stable wealth and earns public respect for their balanced approach to leadership. Emotional intelligence combines with Saturn's discipline to create an admired, trustworthy public persona. Venus, 2nd and 7th Lord, in Taurus, 2nd house, own sign, harmonizing Saturn's long-term wealth building. Venus supports material prosperity, diplomacy, and social grace. The native combines financial acumen with fairness, making them successful in politics, judiciary roles, or wealth management where strategic patience leads to long-term prosperity. Jupiter, 9th and 12th Lord, in Sagittarius, 9th house, own sign, providing dharmic grounding to Saturn's authority. Jupiter offers wisdom, ethics, and higher learning. With Shasha Yoga, this combination produces karmic rulers, legal reformers, or global advisors who guide public systems with both moral clarity and administrative control. Mercury, 3rd and 6th Lord, in Gemini, 3rd house, own sign, sharpening Saturn's administrative execution. Mercury enhances communication, legal negotiation, and problem solving. The native manages complex legal, political, or business disputes with intellectual precision and calm authority, rising steadily in positions of power. Rahu in Libra, 7th house, conjunct exalted Saturn if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's drive for public power, political alliances, and global authority. When ethically guided by Jupiter, the native becomes an international policymaker, high-level corporate leader, or judge with broad influence. Without discipline, Rahu may tempt the native into rigid power struggles or excessive ambition. Ketu in Aries, 1st house, disposed by Mars. Ketu fosters inner detachment from ego despite public success. The native becomes a karmically mature leader who exercises Saturn's Shasha Yoga without personal attachment to fame or fortune, focusing on duty, justice, and long-term public welfare above all. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Taurus rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Taurus ascendants, ruled by Venus, symbolizing stability, wealth, beauty, and comfort, Shasha Yoga through Saturn introduces structure, endurance, mastery over responsibility, and long-term wealth preservation into their naturally comfort-seeking and materially grounded nature. While Taurus natives excel at accumulating resources, Shasha Yoga allows them to convert wealth into institutional power, disciplined leadership, and karmic governance. The full strength of this yoga depends on Saturn's dignity, own or exalted in Kendra, and how Venus supports Saturn's patient approach to authority without excessive indulgence. Rule application, Kendra placement, and dignity. For Taurus Lagna, Saturn rules the 9th house, Capricorn, Dharma, higher learning, ethics, fortune, And 10th house, Aquarius, career, public authority, karma. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, 9th house, own sign, or Libra, 6th house, exalted. Both positions give Saturn strong control over destiny, public leadership, ethical responsibility, and career success, making Shasha Yoga highly potent for Taurus natives in government, law, and large institutional frameworks. Saturn, 9th and 10th Lord, in Capricorn, 9th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the most classical and powerful expression of Shasha Yoga for Taurus rising. Saturn here grants long-term fortune, dharmic authority, wisdom in leadership, and sustained career rise. The native becomes an ethical leader, government head, corporate executive, or high-ranking judge who patiently accumulates both material wealth and social respect over time. Saturn, 9th and 10th Lord, in Libra, 6th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 6th house allows the native to master conflict, competition, legal affairs, and public service. The native becomes an effective administrator, legal expert, or healthcare leader who gains recognition by resolving disputes and managing institutions with fairness, patience, and karmic discipline. Venus, Lagna Lord, in Taurus, 1st house, own sign, harmonizing Saturn's power with grace and diplomacy. Venus provides personal charm, financial acumen, and relational harmony. When supported by Shasha Yoga, the native becomes a balanced leader who manages large-scale businesses or public institutions with both elegance and strong ethical grounding. Moon, 3rd Lord, in Taurus, 1st house, exalted, stabilizing Saturn's intellectual control. Exalted Moon enhances emotional resilience, popularity, and decision-making ability. This creates a calm and trusted leader who handles complex negotiations and public responsibilities with grace, patience, and consistency. Jupiter, 8th and 11th Lord, in Pisces, 11th house, own sign, amplifying Saturn's long-term wealth and alliances. Jupiter expands social networks, financial gains, and institutional partnerships. The native rises as a wealth builder, advisor, or philanthropic leader who combines ethical wisdom with material prosperity for collective benefit. Mercury, 2nd and 5th Lord, in Virgo, 5th house, exalted, refining Saturn's leadership with intellectual precision. Exalted Mercury sharpens financial decision-making, creative intelligence, and policy formation. The native excels in legal, corporate, or academic leadership roles where both wealth and intellectual contribution are harmoniously blended. Mars, 7th and 12th Lord, in Aries, 12th house, own sign, energizing Saturn's capacity for global or spiritual service. Mars empowers foreign dealings, spiritual institutions, and hidden organizational power. The native may lead multinational businesses, global policy reforms, or spiritual organizations that demand both courage and disciplined execution. Rahu in Libra, 6th house, conjunct exalted Saturn, if placed here. Rahu intensifies Saturn's ability to dominate legal, political, or institutional structures. Guided properly, this produces legal reformers, political masters, or global administrators who manage conflict with surgical precision. Without ethical balance, Rahu may lead to power struggles or overly rigid control. Ketu in Aries, 12th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu fosters detachment from material outcomes while allowing Saturn to function as a disciplined leader. The native remains karmically balanced, focusing on service, justice, and long-term collective stability, allowing Shasha Yoga to fulfill its highest public service potential. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, core principle, strength versus influence. For Cancer ascendants, ruled by the moon, representing emotions, nurturing, and protection, Shasha Yoga through Saturn introduces structure, long-term authority, responsibility, and disciplined leadership into their naturally sensitive, protective, and emotionally driven nature. Cancer natives instinctively care for others and seek emotional stability. Shasha Yoga transforms these tendencies into stable institutional leadership, administrative excellence, and karmic authority. The full power of this yoga depends on Saturn's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how the moon allows Saturn to bring emotional steadiness and public responsibility without becoming burdened by excessive emotional rigidity. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Cancer Lagna, Saturn rules the 7th house, Capricorn, partnerships, public life, diplomacy, and 8th house, Aquarius, shared resources, transformations, long-term investments, and institutional power. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, 7th house, own sign, or Libra, 4th house, exalted. Both are Kendras and give Saturn full authority over relationships, institutions, and public service, turning Cancer natives into highly respected leaders who combine protection with lawful governance. Saturn, 7th and 8th Lord, in Capricorn, 7th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the classical form of Shasha Yoga for Cancer rising. Saturn in its own sign in 7th house grants stable partnerships, long-lasting business alliances, political stature, and public recognition. The native often rises through government, judiciary, law, or public negotiations, becoming a steady force in political, legal, or financial leadership, where enduring partnerships and alliances play a key role. Saturn, 7th and 8th Lord, in Libra, 4th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 4th house brings immense stability in home life, property, institutions, and public reputation. The native becomes the guardian of large organizations, institutions, or public trusts, excelling in real estate, administration, politics, or educational leadership while earning long-term public trust. Moon, Lagna Lord, in Taurus, 11th house, exalted, emotionally anchoring Saturn's leadership. Exalted Moon provides financial stability, strong alliances, and emotional grounding. This balances Saturn's disciplined leadership, making the native a compassionate administrator, political leader, or institutional head who governs with both empathy and karmic responsibility. Venus, 4th and 11th Lord, in Taurus, 11th house, own sign, harmonizing Saturn's long-term financial and institutional success. Venus supports wealth accumulation, diplomatic success, and high-level alliances. The native attracts powerful social networks and enjoys consistent gains through political, institutional, or business leadership, where both diplomacy and structure are equally important. Jupiter, 6th and 9th Lord, in Pisces, 9th house, own sign, spiritually guiding Saturn's public authority. Jupiter adds dharmic wisdom, moral judgment, and higher purpose to Saturn's public role. The native becomes a respected judge, counselor, or spiritual political leader who governs fairly while remaining aligned with higher ethical principles. Mercury, 3rd and 12th Lord, in Virgo, 3rd house, exalted, refining Saturn's administrative control. Exalted Mercury sharpens communication, negotiation, and strategic planning. The native excels in managing public communication, complex diplomacy, or legal negotiation with precision and intellectual discipline, supporting Saturn's patient authority. Mars, 5th and 10th Lord, in Aries, 10th house, own sign, energizing Saturn's career leadership. Mars empowers the native's ambition, courage, and executive leadership. This dynamic blend of Mars's initiative and Saturn's structure creates highly respected military leaders, corporate heads, administrators, or political strategists who manage large organizations with efficiency. Rahu in Libra, 4th house, conjunct exalted Saturn, if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's desire for institutional dominance, property wealth, or political power. When ethically guided, this produces powerful public administrators, heads of educational trusts, or real estate moguls. Uncontrolled, Rahu may lead to excessive attachment to property, reputation, or control. Ketu in Aries, 10th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu grants detachment from personal ambition while allowing career success. The native serves the public karmically, focusing on legacy building, governance, and ethical leadership without excessive ego, allowing Shasha Yoga to function at its highest form, service-oriented authority with long-term impact. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Leo rising. Core principle, strength versus influence for Leo ascendants, ruled by the sun, symbolizing authority, ego, leadership, and personal radiance. Shasha Yoga through Saturn introduces discipline, long-term power, institutional control, and karmic responsibility into their naturally charismatic and self-driven nature. Leo natives naturally shine in positions of visibility and authority. Shasha Yoga brings steadiness, humility, and long-term governance to their leadership, allowing them to build empires that last. The full expression of this yoga depends on Saturn's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how the sun integrates Saturn's endurance without becoming rigid or prideful. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Leo Lagna, Saturn rules the 6th house. Capricorn, conflict, service, competition, public duties. And 7th house, Aquarius, partnerships, contracts, political alliances. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, 6th house, own sign, or Libra, 3rd house, exalted. Both positions allow Saturn to exercise tremendous control over leadership, public service, law, and institutional power, transforming Leo natives into master administrators who balance personal brilliance with karmic responsibility. Saturn, 6th and 7th Lord, in Capricorn, 6th house, own sign, unafflicted. This classical placement gives the Leo native mastery over legal affairs, conflict resolution, and institutional control. The native becomes an excellent judge, political leader, or administrator who excels at handling competition, managing public service, or leading bureaucracies with strict discipline and fairness. Saturn in 6th house grants victory over enemies through patience and strategy. Saturn, 6th and 7th Lord, in Libra, 3rd house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 3rd house produces fearless communication, courageous enterprise, and mastery over negotiations. The native becomes a skilled diplomat, media figure, legal negotiator, or political strategist who can handle complex alliances and create stable leadership platforms through tireless self-effort and careful planning. Sun, Lagna Lord, in Leo, 1st house, own sign, combining radiance with Saturn's structured power. The Sun gives natural authority, confidence, and personal magnetism. With Shasha Yoga supporting Saturn's discipline, the native becomes a ruler or CEO capable of balancing personal visibility with long-term administrative control, leading large corporations, governments, or political parties with stability. Moon, 12th Lord, in Taurus, 10th house, exalted, emotionally balancing Saturn's public leadership. Exalted Moon stabilizes career success, public image, and emotional grounding. The native enjoys fame, popular support, and an emotionally balanced approach to leadership, excelling in public administration, judiciary, or institutional leadership roles. Venus, 3rd and 10th Lord, in Taurus, 10th house, own sign, harmonizing Saturn's authority with grace. Venus supports public diplomacy, media presence, and artistic refinement in leadership. The native gains favor and admiration in professions requiring public grace, negotiation, and aesthetic authority while building stable institutional careers that endure over decades. Jupiter, 5th and 8th Lord, in Pisces, 8th house, own sign, giving depth and karmic wisdom to Saturn's governance. Jupiter adds spiritual insight, dharmic grounding, and long-term karmic leadership. The native governs with wisdom, patience, and ethical judgment, often rising in legal, educational, or institutional reform, where transformation of public systems becomes their legacy. Mercury, 2nd and 11th Lord, in Virgo, 2nd house, exalted, refining Saturn's wealth management and alliances. Exalted Mercury sharpens financial strategy, resource control, and intellectual authority. The native excels in wealth building, advisory roles, and policymaking, creating stable financial institutions or legal frameworks that benefit the public long-term. Mars, 4th and 9th Lord, in Aries, 9th house, own sign, energizing Saturn's dharmic authority. Mars empowers leadership in law, governance, and international affairs. With Saturn's Shasha Yoga, this combination creates bold reformers, political leaders, or institutional heads who courageously build long-lasting legal or governmental systems. Rahu in Libra, 3rd house, conjunct exalted Saturn, if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's capacity for bold negotiation, media influence, and political power. When ethically guided, this produces influential political leaders, global strategists, or reformers who shape legal and institutional systems. If poorly managed, it may lead to manipulative alliances or excessive political ambition. Ketu in Aries, 9th house, disposed by Mars Ketu, grants detachment from personal ego while allowing the native to fulfill their dharmic leadership path. Disposed by Mars, this fosters humility in spiritual service and karmic governance, allowing Shasha Yoga to manifest as balanced authority where personal ambition serves a higher collective mission. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Libra rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Libra ascendants, ruled by Venus, representing balance, diplomacy, beauty, and justice, Shasha Yoga through Saturn introduces discipline, authority, administrative mastery, and long-term karmic leadership into their naturally relationship-oriented and aesthetically refined personality. While Libra seeks harmony and fairness, Shasha Yoga adds seriousness, institutional power, and legal mastery, allowing them to rise as architects of long-term public systems, legal frameworks, and diplomatic leadership. The full power of Shasha Yoga depends on Saturn's strength, own or exalted dignity in Kendra, and how Venus supports Saturn's administrative steadiness without letting the native become overly rigid or bureaucratic. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Libra Lagna, Saturn rules the fourth house, Capricorn emotional security, property, institutions, homeland, and fifth house, Aquarius creativity, authority, higher knowledge, public influence. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, fourth house, own sign, or Libra, first house, exalted. Both placements give Saturn full strength to control property, institutions, intellectual authority, and public reputation, making Shasha Yoga extremely influential for Libra natives in leadership, government, legal professions, or public administration. Saturn, fourth and fifth lord in Capricorn, fourth house, own sign, unafflicted. This is a strong classical form of Shasha Yoga for Libra rising. Saturn here stabilizes property, home life, and institutional control while granting strong leadership over educational or governmental systems. The native rises as an administrator, judge, legal expert, or institutional head who builds solid public systems that endure across generations. Public respect comes from patient leadership, administrative excellence, and ethical stability. Saturn, fourth and fifth lord in Libra, first house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in Lagna gives the native tremendous personal discipline, dignity, humility, and karmic authority. The person carries an aura of mature leadership, rising through diplomacy, law, or public administration to high-ranking positions where fairness, structure, and patience are rewarded. This is one of the finest expressions of Shasha Yoga for Libra, granting both charm and formidable leadership. Venus, Lagna Lord in Libra, first house, own sign, refining Saturn's authority with grace. Venus strengthens personal charm, diplomacy, and public popularity. With Shasha Yoga active, the native leads with elegance, attracting widespread public respect, balancing institutional leadership with fairness, tact, and aesthetic refinement. Moon, 10th Lord. In Taurus, 8th house. Exalted, stabilizing Saturn's emotional depth and leadership. Exalted Moon provides emotional resilience in managing crises, joint assets, and legal complexity. The native becomes a wise crisis manager, handling legal or financial transformations with steady emotional intelligence, often becoming an arbitrator or policymaker. Jupiter, 3rd and 6th Lord, in Pisces, 6th house, own sign, giving moral wisdom to Saturn's institutional leadership. Jupiter offers ethical judgment and moral grounding in conflict resolution. The native excels as a judge, mediator, or government administrator who reforms public service and legal structures with spiritual vision and compassion while executing Saturn's discipline. Mercury, 9th and 12th Lord, in Virgo, 12th house, exalted, refining Saturn's foreign diplomacy and policy building. Exalted Mercury enhances negotiation, international relations, and legal drafting. The native becomes influential in foreign service, global legal reform, or education diplomacy, where Saturn's administrative power meets Mercury's legal sharpness. Mars, 2nd and 7th Lord in Aries, 7th house, own sign, energizing Saturn's partnerships and public contracts. Mars strengthens dynamic business alliances, legal contracts, and diplomatic relationships. The native becomes a successful negotiator, corporate head, or legal authority who combines courage with disciplined partnerships to build long-term prosperity and political stability. Rahu in Libra, first house, conjunct exalted Saturn, if placed here. Rahu intensifies Saturn's ambition for personal power, public visibility, and political authority. Properly directed, this produces global political leaders, judges, or legal reformers who create sweeping changes in public systems. Without guidance, Rahu may push the native toward rigid control or obsession with power and image. Ketu in Aries, 7th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu fosters detachment from personal ego and partnerships, making the native karmically balanced despite their public prominence. Disposed by Mars, this ensures that the native serves collective systems rather than purely personal ambitions, allowing Shasha Yoga to mature into ethical public governance and institution building. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Scorpio rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Scorpio ascendants, ruled by Mars, symbolizing transformation, intensity, and strategic power, Shasha Yoga through Saturn introduces order, long-term planning, control over complex systems, and karmic endurance into their naturally forceful, secretive, and ambitious personality. Scorpio natives instinctively manage crises and power structures. Shasha Yoga enhances this by giving them the patience, political skill, and administrative capacity to become master controllers of institutions, wealth, and authority. The full expression of this yoga depends on Saturn's dignity, own or exalted in Kendra, and how Mars supports Saturn's patient governance without impulsive excess or ruthless control. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Scorpio Lagna, Saturn rules the third house, Capricorn, communication, enterprise, negotiations, courage, and fourth house, Aquarius, homeland property, education, institutions. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, third house, own sign or Libra, 12th house, exalted. Both positions allow Saturn to govern the Scorpio native's ability to manage people, institutions, and confidential negotiations with strategic mastery and karmic depth. Saturn, third and fourth lord, in Capricorn, third house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the purest expression of Shasha Yoga for Scorpio rising. Saturn here gives tireless effort, disciplined communication, and mastery over contracts, diplomacy, media, and negotiation. The native becomes a powerful dealmaker, strategist, or institutional leader who operates behind the scenes while building structures that endure for decades. Their words carry weight, and they excel in legal, political, or corporate arenas. Saturn, third and fourth lord, in Libra, 12th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 12th house allows the native to manage large institutions, international organizations, or spiritual retreats with detachment and karmic maturity. The native becomes a masterful administrator of hospitals, NGOs, foreign policy systems, or secretive financial institutions, balancing their Scorpio intensity with Saturn's quiet control over vast hidden structures. Mars, Lagna Lord, in Scorpio, first house, own sign, fueling Saturn's administrative mastery with courage. Mars provides strategic willpower, personal charisma, and fearless execution. Combined with Shasha Yoga, the native becomes a highly effective crisis manager, political operative, or global executive who can dominate complex institutional negotiations with both courage and patience. Moon, ninth lord in Taurus, seventh house, exalted, stabilizing Saturn's partnerships and public image. Exalted moon grants emotional balance and ethical guidance in partnerships and public roles. The native earns trust as a wise negotiator or public leader who handles both wealth and people with care, discretion, and long-term responsibility. Venus, 7th and 12th, Lord in Taurus, 7th house, own sign, refining Saturn's partnership-building power. Venus enhances public diplomacy, marriage alliances, and business partnerships. The native combines Saturn's strategy with Venus's grace, excelling in high-level negotiations, international diplomacy, or corporate boardroom alliances that bring enduring success. Jupiter, 2nd and 5th lord, in Pisces, 5th house, own sign, giving dharmic wisdom to Saturn's financial leadership. Jupiter provides higher knowledge, ethical wealth management, and creative leadership. This combination creates philanthropists, advisors, or educational heads who build lasting institutions that blend material wealth with spiritual and intellectual growth. Mercury, 8th and 11th lord, in Virgo, 11th house, exalted, refining Saturn's control over networks and wealth. Exalted Mercury sharpens financial strategies, alliances, and institutional collaborations. The native becomes an expert wealth manager, high-ranking bureaucrat, or corporate strategist who controls vast resources while carefully managing political or financial risks. Rahu in Libra, 12th house, conjunct exalted Saturn, if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's influence over international institutions, secretive negotiations, and spiritual organizations. If guided ethically, this produces global institutional heads, high-level diplomats, or international policy reformers. Without control, Rahu may push the native into hidden power games or obsession with institutional dominance. Ketu in Aries, 6th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu grants detachment from personal ego in conflict management and legal matters. The native remains karmically mature even while handling adversaries, lawsuits, or institutional reform, allowing Shasha Yoga to express through calm legal mastery and reformist service to public institutions. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga, Capricorn rising. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Capricorn ascendants ruled by Saturn itself, symbolizing structure, responsibility, duty, and karmic authority, Shasha Yoga becomes extremely powerful and central to the chart. Here, Saturn not only creates the yoga, but also governs the entire direction of life. Capricorn natives are naturally patient, hardworking, and focused on long-term results. Shasha Yoga amplifies these traits into supreme administrative ability, public leadership, mastery over institutions, and deep karmic control over systems and governance. The full expression of this yoga depends on Saturn's dignity, own or exalted in Kendra, and how the rest of the chart supports or challenges Saturn's mission of building lasting legacies. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Capricorn Lagna, Saturn rules both the first house, self, personality, health, karmic path, and second house, Aquarius, wealth, speech, family legacy, financial authority. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, first house, own sign, or Libra, 10th house, exalted. Both are extraordinarily powerful placements, giving Saturn full control over wealth, public visibility, career, institutions, and legacy. Saturn, first and second lord, in Capricorn, first house, own sign, unafflicted. This is the purest and most natural Shasha Yoga for Capricorn rising. The native becomes highly disciplined, patient, methodical, and focused on karmic duty. They steadily rise in government, corporate leadership, judiciary, or policymaking, often becoming known for their wisdom, endurance, and ability to manage vast systems with unshakable steadiness. Saturn, first and second lord, in Libra, 10th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 10th house creates some of the most powerful administrators, judges, statesmen, corporate heads, or government reformers. This version of Shasha Yoga grants immense public authority, long-lasting reputation, and the ability to lead institutions that serve the collective for decades or even centuries. Moon, 7th lord, in Taurus, 5th house. Exalted, emotionally stabilizing Saturn's public authority. Exalted moon gives emotional maturity, public popularity, and stable personal life. The native balances responsibility with compassion, becoming well-loved public figures who command respect through both intellect and emotional wisdom, often leading educational or philanthropic institutions. Venus, 5th and 10th lord, in Taurus, 5th house. Own sign, harmonizing Saturn's leadership with grace. Venus brings charm, diplomacy, creativity, and public relations mastery. This combination allows the native to be both respected and admired, making them excellent at handling high-level negotiations, corporate management, or government reforms that require public cooperation and goodwill. Jupiter, 3rd and 12th lord, in Pisces, 3rd house, own sign, providing ethical guidance to Saturn's career ambitions. Jupiter contributes ethical wisdom, courage in leadership, and dharmic responsibility. The native rises as a principled leader in law, foreign diplomacy, education, or judicial administration, blending Saturn's discipline with Jupiter's higher moral compass. Mercury, 6th and 9th lord, in Virgo, 9th house, exalted, refining Saturn's dharmic policymaking. Exalted Mercury sharpens legal precision, intellectual clarity, and ethical governance. This produces legal scholars, top-level judges, or government advisors who draft long-term public policies, blending Mercury's intellect with Saturn's karmic control. Mars, 4th and 11th lord, in Aries, 4th house, own sign, energizing Saturn's institutional building capacity. Mars empowers real estate, homeland affairs, and property management. With Shasha Yoga, this allows the native to build powerful public institutions, educational campuses, or government headquarters that serve society for generations. Rahu in Libra, 10th house, conjunct exalted Saturn if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's hunger for public power, international fame, and institutional dominance. Properly guided, this combination creates world leaders, corporate giants, or political reformers who manage vast bureaucracies with unmatched authority. If uncontrolled, Rahu may pull the native into political manipulation or rigid control structures. Ketu in Aries, 4th house, disposed by Mars. Ketu grants detachment from personal attachments to home, fame, or comfort, while allowing the native to focus entirely on public duty. This enhances Saturn's ability to govern selflessly, creating leaders who are respected not for personal glory, but for their long-term service to collective welfare and karmic justice. Pancha Mahapurusha Yoga, Shasha Yoga. Core principle, strength versus influence. For Aquarius ascendants, ruled by Saturn, symbolizing karma, social structures, reform, and long-term vision, Shasha Yoga becomes one of the most defining yogas of the entire chart. Since Saturn not only forms the yoga, but also rules the Lagna, Aquarius natives are naturally inclined toward responsibility, public service, and institutional reform. Shasha Yoga amplifies their intellectual idealism into durable leadership, systemic power, and karmic authority over governance, law, and collective welfare. The yoga's ultimate strength depends on Saturn's dignity, own or exalted in Kendra, and how its vision is tempered with service, ethics, and social balance rather than rigid control. Rule application, Kendra placement and dignity. For Aquarius Lagna, Saturn rules both the first house, self, personality, karmic direction, and 12th house, Capricorn, institutions, foreign affairs, spirituality, large organizations. Shasha Yoga forms when Saturn is placed in Capricorn, 12th house own sign, or Libra, 9th house, exalted. Both placements give Saturn immense karmic authority, making Aquarius natives powerful institution builders, global reformers, or long-standing leaders of international bodies. Saturn, 1st and 12th Lord in Capricorn, 12th house, own sign, unafflicted. This is one of the most profound placements of Shasha Yoga for Aquarius rising. Saturn in own sign in the 12th house gives control over large-scale institutions, foreign governments, international organizations, hospitals, or charitable networks. The native operates at global levels, managing the hidden workings of large systems with strategic patience, discretion, and karmic maturity. These natives often shape foreign policy, manage global funds, or lead major non-governmental organizations. Saturn, 1st and 12th Lord, in Libra, 9th house, exalted and unafflicted. Exalted Saturn in the 9th house gives karmic mastery over law, Dharma ethics, and policy making. The native rises to become a Supreme Court judge, international diplomat, educational reformer, or global political leader whose laws, treaties, or educational systems have far-reaching, long-lasting effects. This is one of the most prestigious expressions of Shasha Yoga for Aquarius Lagna, combining idealism with impeccable institutional execution. Moon, 6th Lord, in Taurus, 4th house, exalted, stabilizing Saturn's emotional grounding in leadership. Exalted Moon grants emotional control, domestic stability, and institutional anchoring. The native manages real estate, educational institutions, or government facilities with a sense of stability and public trust, balancing Saturn's rigid control with compassionate governance. Venus, 4th and 9th Lord, in Taurus, 4th house, own sign, adding grace and diplomacy to Saturn's administrative power. Venus brings charm, diplomacy, and a sense of beauty into institutional leadership. The native may rise as a respected statesman, global negotiator, or university head who skillfully balances public service with refined leadership, cultural patronage, and long-term social development. Jupiter, 2nd and 11th Lord in Pisces, 2nd house, own sign, enriching Saturn's wealth building with ethics and wisdom. Jupiter provides vast financial expansion, ethical wealth management, and support from powerful alliances. This allows the native to build wealth through global institutions, diplomatic partnerships, or educational foundations while maintaining moral clarity. Mercury, 5th and 8th Lord, in Virgo, 8th house, exalted, refining Saturn's legal, financial, and transformational authority. Exalted Mercury gives the native sharp control over secret negotiations, financial restructuring, legal settlements, and high-level governance. The native becomes an expert in law, finance, or research-based reform, operating with precision in confidential or crisis-driven institutional work. Mars, 3rd and 10th Lord, in Aries, 3rd house, own sign, energizing Saturn's courage and administrative action. Mars supplies fearlessness and decisive action in leadership. With Shasha Yoga active, this makes the native a courageous policymaker, strategist, or institutional head who pushes through systemic reforms, political changes, or government restructures with bold execution. Rahu in Libra, 9th house, conjunct exalted Saturn if placed here. Rahu amplifies Saturn's ambition for global leadership, legal mastery, and public policy control. When ethically guided, this produces global political icons, world leaders, or legal architects whose influence shapes international law and governance. If imbalanced, it may lead to rigid idealism or policy extremism. Ketu in Aries' third house, disposed by Mars. Ketu brings detachment from personal ambition in public discourse, while still allowing mastery over communication, negotiation, and legislative drafting. The native remains focused on karmic service, building policies and institutions that outlive their own tenure, allowing Shasha Yoga to fulfill its highest purpose, long-term service to society and global systems.